Welcome back to the morning show right here on the Rise News channel. Now time to take a look at news stories making headlines around the globe. National Security Advisor is warning key political actors, including state governors, against using thugs to prevent opposition parties from campaigning in their states. Mungunu yesterday assured Nigerians that President Muhammadu Buhari has given a clear directive that the will of the people must prevail in the 2023 general elections, and that's exactly what the government will ensure happens during the elections. The NSA, who further allayed concerns by some Nigerians about the feasibility of the 2023 elections, however, promised that the elections would take place in an atmosphere that is without intimidation. According to Mungunu, law enforcement agencies will be on the lookout for erring governors and make sure that the practice of stopping the opposition from mounting campaign materials is checked.
About a week ago, and we emphasized the need for everybody to operate on a level playing field. One thing I can assure you is the president has given clear directives. The people's will must prevail. What happened in Anambra, Osun, and Ekiti is what we want to happen all over the country. Let the people choose their leader, whoever they want. Any unpalatable activity, the use of thugs, and I know we have a lot of thugs, political thugs. Those elements who think they can deny other people the air to breathe, the political air to breathe and reach out to the local community should have another think. And I've said it before, and I'm saying it again. These political elements should call their thugs, their capo regimes to order. They should have a nice, quiet, fireside chat with them and advise them that when the law enforcement agencies come, there will be no hiding place.
A lot to talk about. Ayo?
When the law enforcement comes against them, there will be no hiding place. Free, fair, credible elections is what the President, General Muhammadu Buhari retired, has promised Nigerians at the 2023 polls. And this has been reiterated a number of times, and his National Security Advisor, Major General Babagana Mungunu, retired, has assured at a media briefing yesterday in Abuja. Now, let's talk about the fact that in recent times we have had reports about political thugs preventing, especially sponsored in some cases by governors in states against the opposition parties, to mounting or hoisting up their campaign materials, or just preventing people from being able to access their voting rights, or being able to go out there, campaign, or in instance exercise their rights. Security is a big factor every election cycle in Nigeria. Interestingly, the National Security Advisor also made this statement and gave this warning against the 2019 polls. And here we are again in 2022, leading to 2023, the same conversations being had, the same warning being said, the same, we're going to deal with it decisively. We want a level playing field. It must be free, it must be credible, free and fair. He cited the example of Osun State, Ekiti, and Anambra. A few days ago, some concerned youths in Zamfara had raised concerns around the fact that their political parties were unable to mount their campaign materials by state-sponsored thugs. There are conversations around this, and it's good to have, to come out and make a statement like this or release a statement like this from the NSA. However, beyond making statements like this, what Nigerians want to see is action. So we have heard this, I wouldn't call it rhetoric, but we've heard this a number of times. What could be an easy way to deter these political sponsors or the political thugs themselves is make examples of people. So we keep hearing of thugs. However, we get reports from opposition parties stating and giving clear examples when they were not allowed to mount up their campaign materials. What had been done to responding to these complaints? Fish them out. You are the National Security Advisor. We have a Security Advisory Council for a purpose. Fish them out. Let there be strict and stringent punitive measures and punishments for perpetrators. If this isn't done, if it is seen that again and again in different states, according to the political party of the state, opposition parties are not free to campaign as they ought to, then we'll just keep having these statements every election cycle. Nothing has been done clearly, or nothing has been done in a strong enough way to send that message home, and so it's not going to deter anyone. So what we want to see, sir, is number one, perhaps provide a channel where people can report real incidences where they were not allowed to hoist their campaign materials, where they were attacked. Then number two, demonstrates that you respond decisively to these reports, and then what are the consequences? These are some of the things we should be having conversations around.
Dr. Gatti?
Okay. The National Security Advisor, his office is in charge of, as the title of his office says, national security. So he has a helicopter view. What he reiterated yesterday at that briefing at the Villa, which is a regular, ministerial briefing that, we have in the Villa in the conference media room, is to say that one, President Muhammadu Buhari has given a clear directive that there must be no violence, there must be no thuggery, and that the will of the people must be allowed to prevail. So he, as National Security Advisor, what he did was to read the Riot Act, was to reiterate the position of the administration, was also to reassure the public that the Nigerian government, the state, Kwa State, is ready, prepared, capable of ensuring that the elections will go on each free. Because one of the questions that was posed to him was, are you sure that the election will be conducted safely? And he said, yes, we're very sure that the elections will go on. That the people who are constituting a big problem, and that is his phrase, are those persons who have a complex, and that again is his phrase. And that because they have a complex, they try to derail the situation, including governors, politicians, who think that using thugs will solve the problem. And he told us that the state is prepared to go after thugs. However, the other thing that he did not point out is that it's a matter of law. Sections 91, 92, 93, 95, and 97 of the Electoral Act 2022 spell out in very clear terms conduct that is unacceptable either during political rallies or during campaigns. And penalties are properly spelled out in sections 93, 94, and 95 for any kind of violation of the law. The responsibility of national security and the relevant security agencies will be to ensure that those provisions in the law are enforced before, during, and even after the election. So the National Security Advisor warning thugs, he should not stop at a level of warning. Raising questions like, who are those people? Who are they? No, this is not about braggadocio. This is about enforcing the law. And his office is, of course, well positioned enough to ensure that the law is enforced against those persons who want to manipulate, subvert, or the process or violate the relevant laws in the statute books. Now, the position of the National Security Advisor is to be placed alongside that of the Inspector General of Police, who spoke this week and who also spoke most recently, yesterday, at Al-Hikma University, where he was a guest speaker. Previously, at the Interparty Advisory Council meeting that was held in Abuja, where he made it clear that one, commissioners of police in the various states should not allow any sitting or serving governor to obstruct other political parties from campaigning in their states. And that would not be possible if, sitting CPs in those states do not collude with the governors. And that any commissioner of police that tries it, that allows himself to be used as a tool, will be dealt with, will be redeployed. I think that that message is also important coming from the Inspector General of Police. The Inspector General of Police, Usman Akali Baba, also said yesterday that within the perimeter of the polling booths, policemen are not expected to carry lethal weapons. I hope his own men will listen to him, because we have had many occasions in this country where policemen don't listen to their Inspector General of Police. They treat instructions from the IGP as if it's an instruction issued from a pepper soup joint. I hope that will not happen in this election. And the third point that the Inspector General of Police said is that about 10,000 policemen will be graduating from police colleges across the country, and that these 10,000 policemen will also be deployed to get involved in ensuring security. The state has a responsibility that the elections go hitch-free, that the will of the people, as President Muhammadu Buhari himself has directed, prevails. So these are the important details. So the NSA, the Inspector General of Police, making these statements again and again at different fora. Yes, we have heard them. But as they say in popular parlance, the taste of the pudding is in the eating. If they say they are capable, we need them to prove it before, during, and after the elections.
You know what they say about talk? It's quite very cheap. It's a dime a dozen. Except we have the political will to do what is right, all of this will just remain talk. Let's dial back. The IGP has spoken. I'll piggyback on what you said, Dr. Abati. 10,000 new police officers coming from the police college. Which police college? Have you been to some of them? Have you seen the deplorable way those colleges are looking? A lot of these police officers come out of this police college hungry, battered, and they see the job as another means to an end for them. So, if they have somebody dangling cash at them, they will do his bidding during election period. We all know the problems in Nigeria. And all of this can only change if our leaders truly have political will. Oh, are the police authorities going to say that they are not aware that in some states, oppositions can't even put their billboards around? Are they going to say they've not heard about that? Are they going to say that in some states that they're not aware that police look away while thugs of a certain political party attacks the other ones? Are we going to say that we're not even aware that in some states, because a certain radio station carried a story in favor of an opposition person or party, they were shut down? We're not ready. And when we are ready, we'll bring sanity and security back to the electoral system. Except we have the political will to do what is right. And we stop being what I call political Humpty Dumptys that just sit on the fence or sit on the wall. Then nothing will happen. But for everybody that sees evil and sits on the wall, as regards all of these political skirmishes, and allow thugs run riot around their opposition, and while the police looks away, remember the fate of Humpty Dumpty. Humpty Dumpty sat on the wall, but Humpty Dumpty had a great fall. Moving on to the next story, the presidential candidate of the All Progressive Congress, Bola Tinubu, is promising to create jobs and tackle inflation and flooding in Nigeria. Tinubu made the promise at the Bayelsa State presidential rally in Yenagoa. Arise correspondent Ovietime George reports.
The presidential candidate of the All Progressives Congress first visited the secretariat of the Bayelsa State Traditional Rulers Council, where the chairman and members wished him well in his quest to govern Nigeria. Bola Ahmed Tinubu got to the Oxbow Lake Pavilion, where thousands of his party's supporters were waiting to welcome him.
No matter how much they cry inflation, we will bring it down. We will be able to create thousands of jobs. I promise you. Your house, your papa house, your mother house, your grandparents' house will no longer be washed away by the flood.
If it is true that he fought for derivation and resource control under the title federalism, then the people of Bayelsa and the people of Nigeria deserve Ashwaju as our president.
Obi prides himself that he's a very prudent man, that he is saving money. He doesn't spend money. He prides himself in being a stingy man. Atiku, his only mission, according to him, that I have heard, is that he wants to sell NNPC. He sold all the other ones before. Now he remembered that he did not sell NNPC. So all he wants to do is to come and sell NNPC. That's why he doesn't even want more than 1 tenure. He said, no, I only need enough time to sell NNPC and then I will go.
The Bayelsa presidential rally is titled Renewed Hope for the APC in 2023.
Did it perform before in Lagos? Yes. Does it better your people? Yes. Is it detribalized? Yes. What is the evidence? He has people from the south, from the east, from the north, from the west in his cabinet.
You did it in 2019 for me. You showed the love to me. So I want you to show that same love to Aswaju and Satima.
We are only just waiting for the announcement of the results, because so long as we are concerned, APC is already winning the election. We have not even seen any rival to APC.
Because of the track records of President Muhammad Buhari on infrastructure, on the economy, and other sectors of our society, we are absolutely sure, with the pedigree of Aswaju, we are sure of retaining the seats at the Villa in 2023.
Asiwaju the Jagaban was talking about Bayelsa. You could see that he is angry that over the years we have not been able to show proper leadership to our people. So the question of him bringing development is not even in doubt, because this is a man that is development personified.
Ovietime George, Arise News.
Ayo.
All right, so Tinubu has taken the Renewed Hope train to Bayelsa. There we see the rally, capital Yenagua, and obviously, good points. Looks very well. A number of people turned out for the rally, took a number of heavyweights, APC heavyweights, to the campaign ground, the rally ground in Yenagua, Oxbow Lake Pavilion, Swali, in Yenagua. Now let's talk about the issues he spoke to. Infrastructure. He's talked about maintaining vital roads, federal highways in Bayelsa, linking important areas. In Biama, Yenagua, Nembre, Brass Road highway, we can hold him to that because he has said it clearly that he is going to maintain it if he becomes president. He's going to build swamp bridges to link the swamp settlements with upland areas and other critical areas in Bayelsa. He spoke about flooding. Now, let me talk about the flooding because Chief Tinubu Silva, who's also a former governor of Bayelsa, spoke about that. And let me read a quote from Sylvia. He said, "You can see why it is so. Can umbrella protect you from the flood? We had serious flooding in Bayelsa that affected every home and every family in the state. The state government had been warned about it for a long time that the flood was coming, but they had no preparation for the flood." All right, so let's talk about flood and how he's bringing forth the fact that Tinubu has a proven track record. How's Lagos doing with the floods? We understand Tinubu said that he is going to address flooding in Bayelsa. He's going to deal with it better than has been dealt with, unfortunately, in the past few months. However, he must also realize that he was governor of Lagos State, which was part of the flooded areas, and is still dealing with flood and and drainage issues in the state. Unfortunately, based on that track record, perhaps they shouldn't have brought it as part of their campaign lines or a promise, because unfortunately, track record doesn't do them favorably in terms of how well they've handled it in the state or in across the nation. Also, again, just to talk about the fact that it is important that to note that according to the reports from the federal government, Jigawa State was worse hit by the floods than Bayelsa. Jigawa State governor is an APC governor. Alhaji Badru is from the APC. So there are issues around this that we must begin to look at, so that when we make promises, we've said it again and again, we don't want big talk. We don't want we're going to do this and that without showing that you've been able to do it or you are able to do it.
Dr. Basu?
Okay, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu in Bayelsa. Yeah, the campaign has been taken everywhere. Campaigning here, campaigning there. That's what politicians are expected to do ahead of elections, but they make promises. Those promises, most of those promises, we don't get to hear how they will solve the problem. So if you tell the people of Bayelsa, I will make sure that flood no longer sweeps away your papa's house or your mama's house. No, what does that really mean in real terms? Other than just talking, holding talks, as Olarotimi has said in one of his books. If you say you will make sure that flood does not wash away their homes, okay, will the government build or complete the Nigerian end of the Lagdo Dam? Will Nigeria show greater commitment to climate change adaptation and not waiting for foreign funding in that regard? Will Nigeria pay more attention to urban planning regulations in Bayelsa and elsewhere? I didn't get that from the statements made. So just telling the people flood will not wash your papa's home away, it's like saying nothing. Then a second point, he says he will also industrialize Bayelsa State. How is he going to industrialize Bayelsa State? It was the same message in the Southeast. The whole of the Southeast will be industrialized. How? Chief Timi Presiva, who is a prominent APC chieftain, also spoke. He spent the time attacking Peter Obi, attacking Atiku Abubakar. Yes, people may say, well, it's standard political practice to demarcate the opposition. The question to ask is it not better to devote your energy to the marketing of your own candidates rather than demarketing others? All you hear is Asiwaju has done it in Lagos. He will do it in Nigeria. Can people get a bit more creative with their messaging methods? But for me, the big takeaway from all of this was that Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, campaigning in Yenagoa, took time out to pay special tribute to President Goodluck Jonathan for handing over without any rancor, for respecting the democratic process, for leaving a legacy of integrity in terms of transparency of elections in 2015. He also praised him for the work that he has been doing across Africa after his tenure in office, and for promoting peace and harmony across Africa and also inside Nigeria. I think that was very instructive, because you will recall that this same APC presidential candidate once referred to President Jonathan as a drunken fisherman. But he was in Bayelsa. In that regard, he ate his words. He was praising the same fishermen that he once called drunken people. And the one that he identified as the chief drunken fisherman, he singled him out for praise. I hope that President Jonathan will find his space in his heart to forgive Asiwaju Tinubu all of his sins. Now that he has gone to his own people, to the same fishermen that he used to abuse, to say, no, fishermen are great people, and that he wants their votes.
As usual, I don't get really perturbed any longer when politicians talk. And in fact, the words of a politician is not worth the saliva that comes out of his mouth when he says it. So I'm not surprised. They would always talk. I think it was Shah the Gold that said politicians say they'll build bridges where there are no rivers. They'll always make promises that they can't back up with empirical facts. And many years down the line, they'll say they never made those promises. Just watch. You'll see it. It'll happen soon. So I'm not surprised. But I am concerned about the people of Niger Delta. And that's why people of Niger Delta shine your eye. In the late 60s, a certain young man that was in school but left school because his people were suffering, Isaac Adakaburu, started what he called a 12-day revolution. That was the first time anybody challenged the federal government in this country. And why did he challenge the federal government? Because the resource of the people of the Niger Delta was not used to develop them. Isaac Adakaburu finally succumbed to the power and might of the federal government. He was to die about a year after in 1968 and during the war. But I want you to ask yourself, watching me this morning in the Niger Delta, that all the things Isaac Adakaburu fought for, are those problems not still there? Over 50 years, close to 60 years now, that Isaac Adakaburu fought so hard. All the problems are still there. So if all the problems are there, then what you should be asking the politicians is that what is the need for me? At least how can we settle out the challenges that Isaac Adakaburu raised close to 60 years ago? And those should be the normative conversation for people of the Niger Delta region. Because they claim they have created NDDC to help you. Has NDDC really helped your lot? Is your life better than it was 4 years ago? So when people make all sorts of promises, and albeit gaffes when they make those promises, ask them the things Isaac Adakaburu fought for. Are those problems not still evident today across the Niger Delta?